First of all, let me tell you how I met Sébastien. Because
Oh, no.
it plays into why Stephanie and I are here. Because I wanted to do something about how you can have artistic collaboration that might result in some commerce when you're an independent, underpaid artist. So I was in a show in France.
Bourg-en-Bresse.
Well, you would know. And it was early. I was there with my raunch rock band, Big Sexy Noise, and I don't know why, but Sébastien was standing
Alone.
nervously
Alone
alone.
as usual.
And I'm like, what are you doing here? This is my version. He might have a different melody. And he's like, but I'm Sébastien and I'm here to see the show. And I'm like, well, what do you do? He goes, I work at the University of Chicago, Paris. And I'm like, well, where's my gig? And he's like,
Yes.
right, yeah, but basically, he's like, so when do you want it? But I don't know if you'd put on any things here before that, had you?
Well, we put on a lot of boring things before you arrived.
How long ago
we
was
just
this?
pushed the level by a lot.
When was that?
That was about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I would say. We're all very busy. It took us about a year to find a date, and we started, and we can't stop. You're here until every year
Until I get my wing.
until the end of time.
But, okay, what I wanted this discussion with Stephanie to be about is, well, Stephanie, how did we come together?
If I recall, it was an exhibition at Tribal Act, a gallery that still exists, by the way. It's
How did we have initial contact?
I can't remember actually. Do you remember?
No.
No.
No, I think we just
So Tribal Act,
organized
when?
it was a gallery that was 1996, and we had this brand new space.
Who had it?
And
Paris had it?
Tribal Act.
Okay, were
the
you
gallery.
working there?
And I was kind of working in there, helping around as usual. And they said, well, we might have this opportunity. Yes, because you were at the Pesner in Lyon.
Okay,
Now I recall.
okay. And so what, you tracked me
And
down?
we would work with that squat,
Okay.
Pesner. And the girl said, I can't remember now, I left. And she said, oh wow, you should invite her. And it was a photo exhibition. I clearly remember that. And so we said, yes, well, okay, because I had a picture of you as a teenager in my room. I didn't know it was you, but I had this
So you just have
Xerox.
pictures
No,
of
no,
stray
no, no,
girls
no.
in your room?
No, there were loads of, like faces. I was kind of...
Mine was one of them.
Yes, but I didn't know because it was just a face, Xerox.
But can you tell us, Stephanie, okay, so you're in Paris, you have photos of girls on your wall as a teenager. What did you first get into in working with art or preparing shows, or can you just give us a basic history of how you got involved with bringing things to the public's eye? You mentioned tribal art. Was there something before that you were doing?
Oh yeah, loads of places,
Give us a
like
rundown.
squats or different places. It's always a question of meeting friends or friend of friends, or thinking that it's really necessary to show something. As an example, I remember meeting Annie Sprinkle, which is a friend of yours, I think, and nobody would know about Annie Sprinkle around here at that time. And it was
Which
like
was when,
at that time,
80s?
yeah, and it was obvious, it was necessary. So you would do anything to be sure the French public could get in contact with the work. And it was same for you, like there is something somewhere, and you have this possibility at one moment maybe to try to present the things.
Were you working directly with a specific galleries or variety of galleries, or just you wanted to bring something so you found a place to put it?
That's it, second option.
Yeah.
Plan B.
Just as somebody who was
Yeah.
a fan of extreme art.
Not really a fan, but you feel like
Promoter.
it's necessary to bring it, to
Yeah.
put in
Not enough to just be a
perspective.
fan.
No, it's not a question of
Fans, we need organizers.
Yeah.
Hence why I.
Sebastian, you are a fan, aren't you?
Well, I was. No, I'm not a fan anymore.
Oh,
I'm
let's
just
go
an
to
artist.
Sebastian.
Problem.
You know,
Sebastian for 1 minute. Sebastian, for 1 minute. So Sebastian, after I antagonized you to book the show and it only took a year, but you had been coming to my shows for years.
Yes, I will
Quietly
say,
lurking
I will
in the
say
wings.
modestly that the first time I saw you, it was in 1988. It was about.
I was 2 years old.
Yeah, I was minus
And a
20
half.
years old, and it was at the Théâtre du Noir, which is actually very close to here.
What was I doing?
You were doing it was probably one of the first times you came to Europe to do
Oh,
a
it
spoken word, because it was with Henry Rollins,
Okay.
and with, what was his name, Don
Bayama? Hubert Selby?
No, Hubert Selby did make it
Okay.
to Europe, and
You were
guys-
the only one who understood the performance?
I understood. I did not, of course, I was probably 19 or 18. I did not dare even say hello or anything, but I was very impressed, and I said, well, this is what I just need to hear for the rest of my life. So
Now we can't get rid of it.
And at least you can understand, because most of the French public does not really understand. I noticed that, but when the people come to you after the gig or to talk with you, it's obvious that they have very clearly understood, got the message. And so you say, do you want to speak to Lydia? Do you speak English? Not at all. How come? But that's what
So Stephanie was doing a variety of things, but out of the love of the need to present to people ideas that were important to her, or performers that were important to her, she would find a way to present them, and especially we're talking about the 80s, right? The late 80s, the 90s. So, I mean, it wasn't like she was affiliated with a specific club or a gallery. Where can I put this person who I think needs to be shown to the public, or at least the minority of people, of which there's always a circle or a circus. And so she started bringing not only myself, but developing places and relationships with people to present things. And from that, just continuing and continuing. I want to get back to, we don't remember the origins. What I remember most distinctly is, and I don't remember how, but Stephanie was working at a book company and approached me, I think by mail letter.
there was no mail at that time.
No,
so
email,
that's-
you
no
mean.
email.
Email.
Yeah, so by I think
letter.
a handwritten letter,
Yeah.
I don't know how she got my address, where Stephanie proposed, because I had a book called Paradoxia, A Predator's Diary, all true sexual horror stories. I'd advise it. It is in French and English and available online. But Stephanie, my first recollection, because people might be offering you to book you and you might meet them once or twice, but you might not remember them 2 years later, was to get my book, Paradoxia, published in French, which to me was very important because I feel most kinship with a lot of French writers, or people that were American and came to France to write. So, I mean, between, the Marquis de Sade and Genet or Sartre were philosophers, because of the French understanding of sex and death in literature and life, it was very important to me. And actually, it was my first. It wasn't my first book, but it was the first book that was translated, and it was. I blame her and I thank her because it's still available in French and with the different companies.
Oh yeah, it has had. This was the very first publication, and then there has been a livre de poche, a small one, and then the new translation by Virginie Despentes, which you met during.
So I don't know if any of you know who Virginie Despentes is, but she is one of the most, to me, important 40 to 50-year-old feminist, and I use that word as a generic term, writers right now. And I met Virginie, who's a very good friend of mine, because my book had come out in French, thanks to Stephanie, and Virginie was reviewing it. And I don't know if she had written her first novel, Bazemois, yet, but it was very parallel times. And
absolutely, and she was just a journalist in a rock magazine.
Yeah,
Was it?
and hence now at this point, one of my best friends for decades, because of this connective tissue. So we didn't like the label that this first came out on, but it didn't stop us because it was published in French, and And the French, for some reason, do understand my writing better than the Americans or any place else. They just get it. They understand, for some reason.
Why did you need to retranslate it?
I don't know.
I was just wondering.
I don't
because I
know.
never asked you why.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I
Because
can't.
obviously, I think you can't read Lydia Lunch in French. I mean, you have
That's
to
why my
read
new
it.
poetry book, who all speak English. That's why I prefer books that are that are in English and the
so
other
you can-
language, because I think that really, look, everybody can't read English or comprehend it. I do a lot of shows based on spoken word. People can't comprehend it. They don't need to understand every fucking word. Americans don't. They need to understand the passion, and to have something printed bilingually is actually the best. But, I mean, look, can you imagine about the Russian translation?
Yeah,
I don't know.
that was another question. I mean,
How about the
many
Turkish?
languages-
I could have been
Yeah.
beheaded.
You've got Czech one, don't you?
Czech,
Italian,
Turkish, Italian, Spanish, French, I think maybe Greek.
Italian, Spanish.
Maybe a Greek.
Maybe a Greek.
I fear the Russian, but. Well, I and Virginie were the only books that. Virginie, there was a Russian book fair, and I was performing there with, I don't know what act, but anyway, I'm going to present my book in Russian to the book fair. And the promoter, who I thought was completely insane and making up stories, saying, oh, today's the 7th anniversary of my son's death. Oh, they've tried to burn down my warehouse of books. He had translated Burroughs and Crowley and many people. That, oh, the Stasi tried to burn down my warehouse of books. Oh, they put me in an insane asylum. Every day was a new horror story. And I'm just like, all right, this guy is just out of his mind, but he translated the book. And upper verse sideline, King Kong Theory and the Russian Paradoxia have the same cover, and we didn't design them. Both women crushing cities like Godzilla. All right, no relation.
King Kong Theory is an essay, a feminist essay.
That
by
Virginie, yes. So, I mean, we have these hideous covers that we did not know and we did not design. So, I'm going to do a reading of Paradoxia at a Russian book fair. And the publisher was like, the Stasi are here, you can't go on. And I'm like, well, do they speak fucking English? And he's like, I don't think so. I'm reading my book. Well, I'm fucking reading it. So I get up and I read it. There's probably soldiers with machine guns getting hard-ons, and it always makes me happy. And nothing happens. Except for 2 weeks later, I don't even know why I'm reading this. I wasn't in St. Petersburg, I was in Moscow. I'm reading the St. Petersburg Times. And Virginie's book and mine are banned.
No.
Only the two books banned from that fair. So the Stasi were there. And every story he told me about being incarcerated and then wanting to burn down his warehouse and his child's murder was true. Welcome to Moscow, asshole. Just a detail.
Yeah.
Just how my life works.
Very nice story.
Or as the last time I said in Moscow when Retrovirus was there last year, I've been staging a Pussy Riot for 40 years. So Stephanie, you helped get out Paradoxia.
Yeah, I
What were
didn't
you-
translate it to make
What
it
were you
clear.
doing
My
at the
English is
time? You were
very
working
poor,
at a book,
so-
at the book, at a publishing
At
company.
a publisher's house. So I remember that the funny thing is that as I thought it was not possible to translate, of course, the original, we had to find someone that was an American person involved really in literature, a true translator, and a specialist of drugs and underground culture to be able, because Hubert Selby, which I know you really appreciate, in the French translation, for example, when they smoke pot in French, they smoke a pot. How do you translate?
Like a ball?
Yeah, a ball.
A ball or a ball, yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
joint.
Or they tablets and they
Pot
like
tablets?
tablets.
That's
But
ridiculous.
it's
Okay,
ridiculous.
that's terrible. Okay, you're saying
So
this is bad.
definitely we needed a
Yeah.
specialist to go through that.
Stephanie Heuze.
Yeah, because the
Okay, so you worked at a publisher for a while, but you were also doing other things and were you writing articles at that time?
Yeah, I wrote my own book on body modifications. Oh, yeah, true. With,
She has promoted so many other things, but she's done a lot of artistic work on
Charles Gatewood with
Yes, Charles Gaiman, an American photographer, yeah.
Fakir Musafar.
Fakir Musafar is like the father of modern primitivism and body art.
Yeah, his books are banned here in France, so it was very interesting.
Extreme body modification, and for
Yeah.
decades actually.
So the funny thing is that if you translate it into French, then it's no more banned because it's
Oh,
French.
so it's banned in English, but not in French.
Yeah, you can't import, but still today.
Interesting.
Yeah. So okay, so I translated.
I'm only
Well,
banned in
had it
Russia. I wish I was
translated.
banned in more
published
places.
that.
I you just can't get banned.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, and were you bringing these to the publisher you were working for?
Yes, or various publishers. You know, the thing is, you come with your file, and you say, okay, this is interesting because it's necessary. I mean, it's a matter of santé publique.
So Stephanie and I kept being involved in, for instance, as we said, originally artwork, like some of my photography, displaying that. And then the book, and we would be in contact, but I mean, look, I've been performing for 40 years, and Stephanie has been promoting and creating and writing for almost as long.
No.
Well, yeah, oh gosh, there's something else. Well, since the 80s. But we would lose touch, but we would keep coming back together. I mean, not that we would just abandon contact, but we would be doing things, I'd be in the States or whatever. But Stephanie would, or I would approach her and say, well, I'd like to do this, because she understood to try to find the right place to house what I was doing, especially in the early days when spoken word here was very difficult to pull off. Before I developed more of an illustrated word concept, which is what I call when I do spoken word and use either video, psychoambient music, or for instance like tomorrow night with Weasel, with a live musician, which just makes it a bit easier when English is not the first language. So Stephanie was promoting the brutality of the impossibility of the comprehension of my work for decades, and we would just keep coming back together. And one reason for that, and I think it's true of most of my collaborations, and this is, I think, an important part, whether you're collaborating musically or it wasn't a business sense we were ever collaborating with. She was just able to facilitate making things happen for me. Not like there was a lot of money involved for anybody, but she was the interstitial, she was the middle woman to be able to find a place to be able to house or promote or perform what I do. And what's very important in this relationship, and I don't know how, but from the very instant that we had contact, whether it was by snail mail or whatever, I felt, and from the first thing, that we had an understanding and I could trust. So if Stephanie suggested something, I'm doing it. It didn't matter what the money was, or even if the place we knew might not be ideal, and sometimes it wasn't. But she also helped in getting a very major art exhibition of mine here at Kenrican.
The retrospective. Yeah.
And it was a huge installation with photographs and sculptures and installation. And that was kind of the cumulative effect after having taken steps and steps again and steps again. And ultimately, it is exactly what I wanted to do at that point, and not only because I wanted to do that, and you understood what my vision would be to take over a whole gallery, but because I met Paul Toupette, who was closing his artwork, that is the Bunny Boy. Paul, if you don't know this artist, Paul, Toupet, he's one of my favorite. Most of his sculptures are based on bunnies with no eyes. They're gorgeous and terrifying and beautiful. And he held his show for one day and was waiting in the gallery for me, and I adore him, before he closed his show and before I could set my show. The most important thing in collaborations to me, whether it's artistic, and this have been very artistic collaborations, is usually I have to do a lot of the organization. Like I book the tours a lot. I have to run a lot of the business bullshit, because I can do it. But when somebody steps in that you can trust, it's amazing, because then you can just go, oh, well, of course I'm going to do the show, and she's going to book it or promote it or find the place to do it, and it just gives you that one breath of relief. But the bottom line is trust. And it's the same with artistic collaborations or business collaborations. If you can't, or if you feel you don't trust that person, or you know they're gonna fuck up, oh, there's one of the Money Myself, thank you. You have to go with your gut instinct, and you have to trust. Because the minute you feel something is wrong, get out and say fucking no. You have to, or you're wasting your time.
But it's
you
mutual trust, because it's very easy to work with you. No, isn't it?
Fucking believe.
I know she doesn't like that because it's not good for her reputation.
That's right. No.
Oh, what is
You are
no, stop.
No.
My reputation.
No.
What is my reputation? People paint their fear on my face.
I
My
can trust you. When you say I come, you come. When we did the signing of this book, there was a snow tempest. How do you say?
A snowstorm.
A snowstorm.
Oh.
And you would call every 30 minutes from New York, was it?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Is the plane coming?
And it was terrible because you said
What's
I
going
will
to
be there.
I'm coming.
And you were
What do I
ready
have to
to
fly the
swim
plane myself?
to come.
Lydia's the easiest person to get along with when you want to do things with her. If you try to fuck her, she'll retaliate.
Hey, wait a minute, you need to fuck with me, not fuck me.
Oh, fuck you.
Sebastian, watch your language if you try to fuck with me.
If you try to fuck with her, sorry, I guess. But you can also try to, well, no.
Yeah, you can try all you want, baby, get in line.
Sorry.
Watch your language. Can you please carry on, Sebastian?
Yeah, we will beat this on the video.
What were you saying, Sebastian?
I was saying if you try to fuck with her, she will retaliate, and it's going to be really difficult.
Well, then not only will I give the throat punch, but Stephanie just came back from a month-long military training in China, where she will kick your ass from here to Grenoble.
What I'm trying to say is that Lydia is the easiest person to deal with. You tell her there's going to be a show, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. You find an agreement with her on what she wants to do, and it happens. And there's no shit going on, and it's mutual, and it's total mutual trust. And I think we were talking about collaboration. What I've always been fascinated with Lydia is that it's like everybody brings in collaborations, everybody brings his contribution to the cause, really. And nobody's expecting.
There is no small contribution.
Exactly. There's everybody.
And I'm very grateful for everything. I mean, and this is what, anybody that doesn't know me isn't going to know that I'm extremely grateful, appreciative, I respect, I give back, but I also know that people are going to bring their best possibility. Because I want to give them the platform, whether it's from a business sense, an opportunity sense, or a collaborative sense, to just do what they fucking want to do to the best of the abilities.
Do you remember that at Galerie Kenori Kim, we tried to go into business with art collectors?
Oh.
Remember that?
Oh, I was too kind.
Yes.
Never undersell yourself, although we know when
What's
you're...
the name of this gallery? We absolutely have to
What?
denounce. No. The Paris, Prague, New York. The woman, she took your photos, she brought them to Barcelona to an art fair. She sold them at a very high price.
Another rip-off, oh well.
She stamped them. You remember?
Hey,
that?
no,
1 on 25.
Don't remember, Stephanie. Don't give a shit so much. Oh well, big
Oh,
deal.
that's funny.
Oh la la la, how many people have I fucking ripped off? What am I doing here tonight? Says it's hard out here for
On s'en
people.
souvient.
So, now we're up to Paradoxia, Kennery Kim, and then Stephanie, in the meantime though, she's very prolific herself, writing books, promoting performances. Then she decided your business, Pensiona, which is one of the best and probably going to be the last woman standing that has a DVD store,
Yeah.
bookstore.
Hors circuit. Non, mais c'est le moment de la publicité.
No, but a little more promotion for this
Yeah,
because it's a great space with exquisite taste in films and books that occasionally has performances. I've read there a few times. Can you please say it again, the address, please, for those that have never been there?
I don't even have.
Well, you know where it is.
Hors circuit. You'll find out.
Well, don't be shy. No, it has
It's close to République.
It has an amazing collection of obscure and art and international DVDs and books and great performances, and it's completely independent, and it wasn't. You knew it needed to be done because you love film, you love art, you love literature, and she found a way in this time, which is almost impossible, to actually have a successful, small, independent business, which she dictates what's in there and how it's run. So I'm just gonna give her a round of applause because I think that's fucking great. I didn't ask you to applaud, but I'm glad you joined in.
I have a question.
Yes.
Maybe you don't have an experience to reflect this, but how does a relationship change when actual money does come into the picture?
It's better. I love paying people.
Relationship?
I
well,
love
look,
paying
you know,
people.
you were talking about like art on a sort of like esoteric level to a degree. Like you do these things out of a love for the art, and in a way, the commerce is not. It's like on a lower level because it's not about the status quo or like popularity. So like once actual money comes into this, I mean.
Well, we're not talking about a whole lot of fucking money for any of this.
I know, but like.
We're talking about enough money to realize the project.
Sure.
Yeah, or to help us another
Yeah.
project. So.
And let's face fact, how did money change our relationship? I pay you more than anybody. So why don't you answer that question, Weasel, I'm gonna ask you that question.
Alright.
How does money change an artistic
Okay, well,
relationship?
to answer your question, since we have a pretty big level of trust, it wasn't really an issue. So am I answering my own question?
And yes.
Yeah, trust.
Well, because
No,
also
yeah.
because the money involved in all of this is so fucking petty. It's so small. The main priority is to be able to do the shit. I'm a little craftier than most because I'm paying you better than you've ever been paid.
Oh snap.
There
Well,
was,
because I want to fucking do that. Do you understand? So it's that
Well, she's
he
a
doesn't
patron
ask
of
me
the
what
arts,
I'm
yes.
making. He's just happy when I pay him.
there
Because
was a-
I want to pay people as much as possible, but it's still, we're starving here. We're homeless. The
That's
point
the
is,
question.
we've done more shit than anybody. Many of the people sitting here, who are all homeless nomads, except for you. You managed to maintain an apartment, but lucky you. You also have a star. I know where to sleep if I'm homeless tonight.
No, what I want to say is that you did an interview with The Guardian, and one of the big
Oh.
headline that The Guardian sort of kept was, if you're in this for the money, if you're in art for the money, then you should forget about it. And a lot of idiots did not understand what you said and said, so like, does Lydia Lunch do all this for free? Does she not charge? And the idea was, I suppose, was to say, if you're trying to do this to make money, then it's going to fail. Do it because you have to do it. If money comes, then so good. It's good for you. But you know,
I love paying people as well. I mean,
Or getting
But why should it fail?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
Why
well-
should it fail?
Well, because we're a minority and the audience is minute. Why is it gonna fail? Because we can't charge everyone $100 to get in the
yeah,
door.
sure.
I'd rather perform for 30 people at $100 each.
And
So after your fucking wallets, you got in for free.
indie artists
I need to
are,
pay Weasel.
indie artists are cut out of the big cash.
One more time, Frank.
Indie artists are cut out of the big cash. And 25 years ago, you get airplay royalties. You get actual, BBC play a tune or a reading. You get like £50 for a 3-minute section. That's all gone. And all artists, all underground artists benefited from that. So what have you got? You got soundtracks, maybe, and television, but everything pays nothing today in terms of the. Before an artist could live on their wits, and
Yeah.
maybe occasionally
Well, shit wasn't
they get a
this
little
expensive,
payday.
yeah.
The paydays are getting infrequent.
Well,
It
my
could be a
salary's
supply
going
and
up.
demand
My
issue.
salary's going up because I'm just getting better at pimping.
And you're working a lot.
And because I want to pay other people too.
Me too.
We pay people.
I do.
In
It's
one.
really,
And-
it's like a priority. It's my job. I
Yeah.
feel that is an element of my job that's huge. There's like 6 top 10s, and that's definitely six
Yeah.
top 10s. That doesn't make sense. But there's
Carla
6
is
top
a musician,
things, and
writer,
if I don't
artist,
pay people at the
vocalist,
end of the
constantly
tour,
on tour and a nomad.
Yeah, if I don't pay people at the end of the tour, I feel
Well, I've never
I
not
feel
paid
that I'm not
anybody.
doing my job. If I don't pay people enough, what I
Yeah.
decide is enough. I feel that I'm not doing my job, and actually I take just the concept of my job very, very seriously. I'm responsible for the people in my bands. I'm responsible for the people in my projects, right down to like if they get an infection in their
Exactly,
finger or anything else. That's for me to pay special attention to, and not paying people properly is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And when you can't do it, it's very difficult because like I'm making an album in November and it's a big record for me. Like it's one of my bigger records with my bigger label, and the budget seems big for most of the albums that we're getting to make these days. It's a nice, it's a pretty nice.
Spending
Yeah,
it.
but the second you start paying everybody $125 a day, that motherfucker is gone. That budget's gone, and then you're paying the studio, and the cost of a real studio, which I'm psyched. I get to use a real studio. Thank God. Maybe it's the last
I say
time.
thank God for the rose.
Maybe it's the last time, but it's going to be $450 a day, and that's a low price.
And those wages are about half what you could expect to pay in the UK, or less than half of that, by the way.
I think
No
a bigger.
shit. I mean, it's shitty money. I'm not saying it's good money.
£300 a day would be a daily rate minimum. Really.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm talking about
Weasel,
friends first of
you're
all.
up to
But
a
still,
grand
it's a
a day.
bad.
I have to quit music if that's the case.
What can we say? I mean, I'm not going to be able to pay anybody £300. There's just, it's never going to happen.
Well, the issue
Not in
is
my
this.
life.
First of all, how badly do you want to do the fucking art? None of us started out doing this thinking we were going to get a paycheck. I always knew my records weren't going to make any money. My books weren't going to make any money. I love that everything's online for free. I don't fucking give a shit. I make my money from live performances and pimping like a motherfucker. Part of the reason is I do want to pay other people, but our pay is so ridiculously inconsequential. That's why I'm a road hoe, and I'll earn as much as fucking. That's why I haven't paid rent for 4 years, because I can't even afford it, as much as I work. But that doesn't matter. I would not trade in what I do.
But this
To
is
do
a
what?
this is actually a crisis for art, especially in North America. Because
That's why the
what a lot of
commune's coming
European-
back. Oh well.
Europeans don't understand
Little
about.
intense.
I did a conference at the Pompidou a couple of weeks ago about boroughs, and the people were complaining when I played a Nike ad, and people were outraged. How come boroughs did a Nike ad?
Because he should get paid.
Yeah, but the point was, hang on, the guy is 78. He has no social security. He has no pension. Nike want to do an ad. He has no social security in the USA. And this is the thing about US artists, that Europeans take a very highbrow standard.
Yeah.
Oh, they did this. Oh, their credibility.
Oh, they
is
must
gone.
be rich.
Hang on. They have no social. They have no social protection,
Nothing.
because they have taken a path in life that takes them outside of paying into the social protection. And that's a huge problem for all artists, and it goes right down to the young artists today.
I'll do a tampon commercial and I haven't bled in 15 years. I want the enemy's money. I think the difference between me, look, I don't know, all money is fucking dirty, but I want it. I want the enemy's money, no problem. I don't care who fucking pays me to do what I do. I'm going to do exactly what I do. I don't care if I'm getting $150 or $15,000. What I'm going to do is going to be exactly the same. I'm going to try and find a distribution circle to help other fucking people that I think are important to get their word across. Give me the enemy's money. The enemy doesn't want me, though, you see? The enemy doesn't want me.
As of yet.
They will not.
As of yet. The enemy usually comes around eventually.
I
When
guess
it's
I'll have
worth
to wait
their
till I'm
while.
78 like fucking Burroughs.
Exactly.
Alright, can't wait. I guess I'll outlive all of
And
you.
you get you get a lifetime supply of trainers.
You know what? If I live to 78, I'll shit myself. How money changes things is, I think other things change a relationship more than money, and that's ego and insecurity.
Wait.
And look, my ego is highly secure, but it's never at the expense of people I'm working with, because I'm always blowing smoke up their fucking ass, and I wouldn't work with them if I didn't think they were amazing. And I'm always the cheerleader. I'm always rah rah rah, you're amazing, oh that was great, and I mean it. But the way that I, as a conceptualist, I have the concept, and I think of the collaborators, then I find a way to get it to happen, and then I find a way to pay them. That's my methodology. And I don't need anybody to tell me how great I am. I know how fucking great I am. I don't care a shit if you know it or not. That's why I do what I do. But I want to tell other people how great they are, and I want to show them. I want to show, like Stephanie wants to show off what she thinks people need to see. So whether I'm on the stage and she's off the stage, in essence, it's the same thing. We are passionate about certain artists, certain writers, certain musicians, and we will do whatever it takes to get them out there. Even if it's just 10 of you. I'd rather have 10 of you paying nothing than having Cebu pay me. Because I'm good that way.
Love you, Lydia.
I love you too, SG. You see that pink curler in both our hair? Looking like a pimp in the morning? Yeah, pass me the pimp juice. Hello.
You've talked about how you met your collaborators in the 90s and the trust you have in them. And I would like to know what you think if this will happen now. Do you think it will be the same, or that the internet and the social media made people more cynical, and it will be harder to get the same trust? For example,
Well, like, who do you mean? What do you mean? So I think his question is, it might have been easier to find collaborators in the 80s, but now people are more cynical?
No, just whether the internet age has made people more cynical, and
What made what people?
kind of
Artists or
no,
the audience?
your potential
any of them,
collaborators.
for example, if I want to do the same, I want to find a place for an artist. I can talk to some place about him, and they will look on the internet, but they will also think that there is so much bond on the internet, and they will think, I can't get anybody I like, so I don't need your advice. And that's do you think that
It was never easy to find a
Let
venue.
Stephanie go for this, because this question is
I
screwing
would
me.
like to answer that. Yeah, it's a whole network actually. So it's not about searching on the internet. And at that time there was no internet.
Yeah.
So it would be a very quick phone call because it was very expensive. So you would do that at a friend's work, or of course, like you do fanzines, you print Xerox
Photocopy it at work,
photocopy them at your mother's
Hoping a
work.
letter
or-
gets to them in 2 weeks.
So you would do it very quickly, or eventually write a letter that would take 2 months, and then you would be engaged very quickly and much quicker than today,
Yes,
because
that
now you
was
go
my
yes,
question.
no,
Yes,
yes.
exactly. My question was, do you think that it will be easier today with the internet, or
No.
because
No,
the network is going bigger and bigger, because
It's not a
everyone
network,
is connected
internet.
to a lot of people and a lot of priorities, that it will get harder
But what is harder
No,
though? I
it's
don't
not
understand.
a
What is
network.
harder?
to make the connections between people.
But it's
Actually,
not a true
Look,
network,
and,
it's a
uh,
virtual
But I
network.
don't know, because look, first of all, since I'm in my 50s, you have a lot of connections already. You know what I mean? So it's not like you always want new connections. Of course, you always want new places to play. But it does. One thing does lead to the other. But still, this is a minority scene. It's a cultural minority. It's extreme artist. It's not going to spread much further than what it already has. Trust me, it's not. I've been crab walking for 40 years. My audience remains the same amount of people as it did 30 years ago. It has not really grown.
I wasn't there 30 years ago. I was doing so.
Yeah, well,
And
but I'm
people
saying
still going.
the audience doesn't need to expand, because I'm happy with the amount of people that come to my show. I just want the schools and the clubs to pay more, which they do. Because perversely enough, I have a great motto. I trust that anyone in business should say this. I have one night to make the money. You have 364 to make up what you lose on me. Nobody argues.
No, but as an example, if Lydia
That's reality.
sends me a mail like, I would like to play in Singapore, please advise. What am I going to do? I'm not going to search on the internet. I will make a phone call to a friend of a friend of a friend in Singapore and say, is it possible? Do you think, could it be, etc.? Please advise. I will have a very quick answer. No, yes, why not this person? It will be very quick. No.
Well,
And that's
some
it.
things.
Could I
Some
screen-
Some
some-
things it's a flat buzz.
Some things it might take, with Sébastien meeting him in person, it could take a year. But I don't know, it's a nebulous question, because it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
But I
So
think-
does the internet make it easier or not?
I think an example, right, if you'd actually think about that, you're at the beginning of your career, or any of our career, and you said Xerox. How many Xerox quarter-page things would you give out for a concert that you would get 200 people to? Maybe 500 or
No, I
1,000.
never knew that. That was me though.
Posters, all that stuff. On Xerox's small, at a beginning stage,
Right.
it was an organic thing. You did a fanzine, it was 150 copies, but half of those people would be at your next concert.
Oh, yes.
So it was a really individual, the physical paper brought the people to the show. And if you were in a small town or a small city or the East Village or some section of a city, 150 fanzines in those 4 record shops was enough to get you to
Far
in
enough.
that bar, and the 500 flyers you gave out at the 2
Might
shows
bring 50 people.
by your mates would be bring 50 people.
Which was
This
enough.
Organic.
Still
This
is.
is the organic
Yeah,
nature.
25.
So the internet has essentially fucked up the organic nature of things, because there is no organic on the internet,
Yep.
and Facebook is fake. And actually the organic artists today are going offline and trying to replicate that, which is a difficult.
I don't do Twitter, I don't do Facebook, I don't do social media. I have Facebook sites, I'm not on them, I don't look at them, I don't run them. Sebastian runs mine. I have no comments. Weasel does a lot of that.
One thing about
Asking.
the internet
He's
is
young.
that it
Yeah.
kind of destroyed the hierarchy of like underground culture. Is
To
put
an extent.
everything on an even and put everyone on a theoretically even keel. So you have masters and novices
All
with
of
the same
stuff.
resources,
Yeah.
and there's basically no hierarchy. That's
Yeah.
what I have to say.
One thing that I find to be sort of like the other side of what you're saying with getting a quick response to a informed inquiry for, to try to make something happen, is that, well, I mean, I've played more than 3,000 concerts, and I've booked at least a third of those, so at least, so I and a lot for other people and different stuff, so I have had a few different experiences. Also, I've played all sizes of concerts from 1 to 30,000, so it's like I have like a lot of weird correlation of experience that almost is different worlds that don't even meet. But what I do find has always been consistent is that some people don't feel the need to respond at all.
To anybody ever.
At
Yeah.
all, and it's a very
It's weird.
interesting way to like just go through the world, and it pumps up your self-esteem because it has to, otherwise it clobbers your ass. Like to deal with people that even they said, write to me, we'll talk, blah blah blah, and then you write to them, you send them your some PDFs and MP3s and stuff, and you think something's gonna just jam, and they just don't write back, and you're like, oh, maybe they were just busy, so then you write them again, and it's like this shit happens a
just
lot.
don't bother, I think.
No, it's not that easy, but I like your answer.
For the
Really good
album.
answer.
Full performance of the album Queen of Siam. Carla, my good friend, was responsible as a pimpstress for the only live full performance of one of what's considered my seminal albums, Queen of Siam, happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
For good money as well.
For good money.
Because we
It
have
was
to
good
pimp
money.
each other. Because we pimp.
I saw that. It
We
was
pimp
so
each
great.
other, that's right.
Of
Sorry.
course, I get Carla to appear at like a cowboy gallery and get $100, but we do what we can because it's not. We all need money, no matter how much or small it is. But we need to do the fucking work.
We need
We have to.
satisfaction.
We need to enjoy. We need to know who our comrades are. We need to know who we can trust to deliver the goods, whatever it is, whether it's whatever it is. And that's the most important thing, because you have that network is not on the internet necessarily. Now that you can't find it there, but a lot of these roots, our roots, go back pre-internet, and they continue on because you find the right people And you have to know instantly whether they're wrong people. You went, next.
But
That's smart.
therefore, you need confidence,
That's true.
You do, or you're just like,
and that's how you can, you know,
And-
see
well,
and yeah.
And what I always say about Facebook is, you're not my fucking friend unless you look in my fucking eye. Because I don't do that shit. So, what did you just do? Can you stand to look me in the eye? Yes, you can. And do I see something in there besides fear or whatever? And it's like, yes. And that is important when you're dealing with art that is outside of everything. What's interesting about my so-called career is the same people, and there's not a lot of them, but there's people, decade after decade will happily lose money on bringing me to do something. Because they know, they followed my philosophy, I've got one night to make it, you got 364 to make it up, bitch. But because they understand that this, for some reason, it touches them and they want to present it to other people. And for that, I am extremely thankful. And it's people that I continue to work with decade after decade. Whether it's promoters, clubs, record companies. I don't deal with record companies anymore, but that's important because you are giving something about you is filling some minor wound in their soul or need that they see in you, and they have the ability to fill that small, I never have pockets in my clothes, but I do my best, that small pocket that needs a little fucking cash. Please help. If anybody wants to leave a donation, you got it. I have 2 pockets. There you go. Now I'm gonna have a cigarette and a question.
Very
sale.
cheap.
Oh, see my pimpstress. Well, they all speak English. It's only 10 euros. It says 8 euros on the back. Don't be cheap. Tomorrow night at Maison
I have no change.
Red Whistle Walter. I'm smoking a cigarette. Give me your lighter. Any questions?
Questions?
I didn't think so. Any answers?
Yeah,